Good morning, guys. Today we're going to be working on circles word problems, which means we're just going to be doing what we've already been doing with circumference and area of circles. It's going to switch back and forth today. So we may have a problem that's over area, and then the next problem is about circumference. So you're going to have to be very careful going between those problems to make sure you're using the right formula. If you don't have it in front of you, you probably should go ahead and write down C equals pi d. That's the formula we use for finding circumference. I did tell you you could also use 2 pi r. I will always use pi d most of the time, but you are welcome to use 2 pi r. If it's an area problem, then we do pi times the radius squared. I told you if you did not have a calculator that would do squared, then that really means the radius times the radius, because r times r is r squared. So you will need those formulas, so make sure you have those written down. And be very careful today. If it's asking you for area, then it's talking about the amount inside of a circle. If it's talking about the circumference, it's talking about the distance around the outside of the circle. So our first example says Tamir has a round trampoline. Okay, so you can imagine the trampoline with a radius of 1 meter. What is the trampoline's circumference? Okay, so the first thing you should recognize is, hey, we're doing circumference here. So we're going to use C equals pi d. Now, we need the diameter for this formula, C equals pi d, but we're told the radius is 1 meter. So we need to recognize if the radius is 1 meter, then the diameter is twice that, which is 2 meters. So C equals, pi is 3.14, and our diameter is 2. Okay, you can use calculators on this just like we done in our previous lesson. So you're going to enter 3.14 multiplied by 2, which will give you 6.28, and this is meters. So that means the distance around the outside of that trampoline is 6.28 meters. Okay, in example 2, it says Connor has a round tablecloth with a radius of 3 feet. What is the tablecloth's area? So I told you we're going to be switching back and forth between circumference and area. So this one is area. So our formula for area of a circle is A equals pi r squared. Okay, so for pi, we're going to use 3.14 multiplied by our radius, which is 3 squared. Now remember, you can enter that as 3.14 times 3 times 3 if you don't have that squared button. So 3.14 times 3 squared is 28.26. So the area of that circle is 28.26 feet squared. Okay, go ahead and pause your video and try examples 3 and 4. The circular clock on Bobby's wall has a radius of 4 inches. What is the clock's diameter? So you're not having to do circumference or area in this one. It's just asking if the radius is 4, then what is the diameter? Remember, radius is halfway through the circle, diameter is all the way through the circle. So if the radius is 4, the diameter is 8 inches. Okay, in example 4, Carmen found a silver coin with a diameter of 18 millimeters. So our diameter is 18. What is the coin's area? So remember, your area formula is A equals pi r squared. So we're going to use 3.14 multiplied, and we need our radius here. So if our diameter is 18, remember diameter is all the way through that circle. So radius is only halfway through. So half of 18 is 9. So 9 squared. Remember, you can enter that as 3.14 times 9, which gives us an area of 254.34 millimeters squared. Remember that with the units, it is always squared when you're doing area. Okay, go ahead and pause your video and do examples 5 and 6. An archaeologist discovered some stones set in a perfect circle. The stone circle had a radius of 8 yards. What is the circle's circumference? So for circumference, I always use C equals pi d. And we're told that the radius was 8. So if the radius was 8, I need the diameter for my formula. So that's twice the amount of the radius, which would be 16. So I'm going to do pi is 3.14. Multiply by my diameter of 16. So 3.14 times 16 equals 50.24. And that is yards. In example 6, it says the floor of a round hut has a radius of 3 yards. What is the diameter? Okay, remember that your radius is halfway through the circle. We're wanting to know the diameter all the way through the circle. So the radius is half of the diameter. So we need to multiply that radius by 2, which would give us 6. All right, so in example 7 and 8, not so much in 8, but in 7, this is a little tricky. So it says Lorenzo has a round trampoline in his yard. The website where he bought the trampoline said it has a circumference of 12.56 feet. So what is the trampoline's radius? Okay, so we're kind of working backwards here. So it's a circumference problem, of course, which remember is, let me erase that, which is C equals pi d. And in all the other problems, we've been solving for the circumference. But in this problem, it's already telling us that our circumference is 12.56. And we know that pi is 3.14. But we don't know the diameter. Or in this case, it's asking for the radius. We don't know the radius or the diameter yet. Okay, so this is a one-step equation where we're trying to isolate our variable d. So to get the variable d by itself, we're going to divide by 3.14 on both sides of our equation. So we're going to do 12.56 divided by 3.14, which gives us 4. So that means our diameter is 4. Okay, so if our diameter is 4, and our question is asking us for our radius, we know that radius is half of our diameter, which would be 2. So the trampoline's radius would be 2 feet. Okay, in example 8, it says a cathedral has a large circular stained glass window. It has a radius of 7 meters. What is the window's area? So for area, we do A equals pi r squared. So pi is 3.14. Our radius, we just said, was 7 squared. Remember, if you don't have the ability to enter 7 squared, you can do 3.14 times 7, which gives us 153.86, and this is meters squared. Go ahead and pause your video and try examples 9 and 10. After measuring his circular lollipop, Percy calculates that it has a circumference of 81.64 millimeters. What is the lollipop's radius? So again, we're being given this time the circumference. So we're working backwards again, which we've done in the past. So a circumference of 81.64. So again, this is a circumference problem. So our formula for circumference is C equals pi d. And again, we were told the circumference was 81.64. We know that pi is 3.14, but we don't know the diameter yet. So this leaves us with our one-step equation again. So to isolate our variable d, we're going to divide by 3.14. on both sides of our equation. So 81.64 divided by 3.14 gives us 26. So our diameter is 26. However, it is not asking us for the diameter. It is asking us what is the lollipop's radius. Okay, so if the diameter is 26, you'll remember that radius is half of that. So half of 26 is 13. In example 10, it says in Miss Delgado's kindergarten class, children make handprints in a round clay mold for their parents. The mold has a diameter of 8 centimeters. What is the mold's area? So our formula for area is A equals pi r squared. So 3.14 multiplied by, now we need the radius here, and we're told that the diameter is 8, so the radius would have to be half of that, which is 4 squared. So 3.14 times 4 squared, or you can do 4 times 4, is 50.24. And that is centimeters. Okay, guys, that completes today's lesson. You will log in through ClassLink. Make sure you're logging in through ClassLink or I won't get your grade. And you're going to do AA7. This one may take you a little bit longer. It is a bit more of a challenge. Make sure you're watching all of this video, working out the problems before I do it, even if you need to watch the video twice. Once your grade is as high as you feel like you can get it, you're free to log out and it will save your score for me. I'll see you guys tomorrow.